Oh, I see. Getting cocky now, are we, Bloober Team? Konami lets you remake Silent Hill 2 and you went, oh boy, we're in the big leagues now. No more inscrutable walking simulators about the interpersonal issues of depressed Polish people trapped in nightmare worlds for us. We're Johnny Big Trousers, survival horror makers. We make games with actual mechanics and combat and guns. And interpersonal issues of depressed Polish people trapped in nightmare worlds. Oh, and still inscrutable, of course. That's Eastern Europe for you. Inscrutable art, tracksuits, bad weather, and no fucking downtown parking. Big fucking talk for a developer named after an obscure Mario enemy. But one thing Bloober Team would have benefited from taking on board while they were busy remaking Silent Hill 2 was the virtue of the elevator pitch. That is, a story that can be very easily summarised for the sake of piquing interest. I mean, Silent Hill 2 is dude gets letter from dead wife. Bam, intrigue in 6 words. Hemingway would be proud. We could probably shorten it further even. Dude, dead wife. Dead wife. Dweh. Let's see how quickly we can summarise Bloober Team's new one. Cronos, the New Dawn, is about an explorer in a dead post-apocalyptic Polish city looking for rifts in space-time so they can go back to the pre-apocalypse and suck the brains out of important people and upload them to post-apocalypse Dropbox, which will in some way help. And also she's a clone or a robot or something who goes around wearing a weird, terrifying environment suit incorporating a big dome head with a vagina on the front. And we look like an astronaut side-gigging as a living statue performer. And we look like Mysterio as redesigned by H.R. Geiger. And we look like the result of an orgy between every major evil alien race from Doctor Who. I could keep going, I've got a lot of these. And look, I'm not saying everything has to be high concept. I think it's perfectly fine to leave the audience with some unanswered questions. It's just the main unanswered question I came away from Cronos with was, what the fuck was that all about? There's even a twist towards the end that felt kind of flat because it recontextualized events from inscrutable situation the game didn't explain well or take time to make sure I understood, to other inscrutable situation the game didn't, etc. Gameplay-wise, at least, Cronos has a lot in common with the Silent Hill 2 make. It's a third-person Resident Evil 4-style camera that ravenously craves buttock, lots of slow walking through spooky abandoned environments, looting scraps of ammo and health items, looking for the puzzle solutions to open up the way to the next area, with the kind of extremely limited inventory that never fails to pump aerosolized scrotum sweat right up my nostrils, with the classic annoyance of having a single Yale key count for exactly the same inventory space as a double-barreled shotgun, and then there's a pair of bolt cutters you've basically got to have on you for the whole fucking game because chained-up doors keep showing up and there's no map or guidance system to help you remember where the fucking things are. And that's where an annoyance officially graduates to bona fide cuntery. And of course there's the combat. Funny story, the day after my first session with the game I was thinking, oh, guess I'll play more of that Bloober Team thing, explore some more corridors and shoot some more, and realised in that moment that I'd completely forgotten what the monsters in the game even were. I only had blurry recollections of pointing a gun at something vaguely organic that didn't look like it was about to offer me a French fancy. So I reloaded my save and was like, oh yeah, mutated flesh monsters, I assumed it'd be something really fucking generic. The comparison to Silent Hill 2 make falls away to be replaced by a much more valid comparison to Dead Space 1 make. You play a protagonist wearing some kind of over-designed piece of kitchen equipment on their head. You exclusively fight spindly mutated monsters composed of mashed together humans with flesh like the last kebab of the evening. There's even a gimmick surrounding the monsters, in that you have to stop them from combining with each other like a fussy chaperone at a school dance, which is all very well, but it's another thing that gets more annoying than exciting when they're doing the nasty like a Cornish pasty and you're on the other side of the room trying to extricate yourself from 3 of their wingmen. Also, there's an extremely contextual mechanic where you can stick to walls and ceilings and dive across the air to stick to the walls opposite, a mechanic that made a lot of sense in Dead Space, being set on a ruined spaceship where gravity is less a law and more a sort of opt-in situation, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a fucking smashed-up grimy hospital. In fact, now that I'm writing all this down, Cronos the New Dawn pretty much is just Dead Space with a typical Bloober Team plot and an infinitely worse title. But the art of action horror requires a certain balance. You have to walk the knife edge of giving the player enough supplies to get by while letting them feel they're escaping by the skin of their teeth. This is something Resident Evil and Dead Space manage very well. Cronos the Neutered Dog does not manage it very well. I mean, I died to the very first enemy, which is never good as it immediately deflates the tension. Between over-exuberant monsters and piddling inventory space, difficulties tweaked a touch too high early on. I flat out ran out of bullets fighting some kebabs in a park at one point, just had to leg it to the next objective. And upon getting there and discovering the monsters couldn't follow me through the door, presumably because I called base, I was all like, jeez, why didn't anyone tell me this was an option? Until I then had to go back through the same park later on, and found them all still there, as well as some new guys that spawned in to see what all the fuss was about. And this continued to be more annoying than scary. I was dying frequently enough that the tension was deflating left and right like I was in the kitchen of a failing soufflé restaurant. And speaking of more annoying than scary, fucking wall monsters. That's word for word what I wrote in my notes, actually. Always grabbing you from across the room before you've even registered their presence to unavoidably nibble your health like a complimentary hors d'oeuvre. Hey, didn't the Callisto Protocol do the exact same thing? Bitch, I wouldn't even use the same toilet as Callisto Protocol until I knew hot bleach had been applied. I know some of you will be crying skill issue right about now, and still more of you will cry comprehension issue when I reiterate that I didn't get what was going on in the story, where the mutation came from, where our protagonist came from, why there are a bunch of space-time rifts around, or why it was necessary to dress up like a xenomorph-themed stick of roll-on deodorant. But at the end of the day, an unengaging story can be saved by good gameplay, and annoying gameplay can be saved by a good story. But when you have an unengaging story and annoying gameplay, ain't no one coming to rescue that. More of a do not resuscitate situation, really.